I feel very emotional because it's about 8 years that I've been involved with JWI, and to come full circle in this moment, post-pandemic, right? Are we post-pandemic? I feel like we are. Uh, um, to be with you all today, to end with vision. I'm so honored that Meredith asked me to be here and that I have this opportunity. From how we started today with Erica and Audrey and the discussion of begin as you wish to go on, I thought it would be really important. How can we have a vision for ourselves, for our community, for the world during very difficult times? And there's some research that I want to share with you about. Thank you for my researchers. Can we give them a round of applause? I will say, I loved how you looked at your phone when you said your name because you needed to be sure, but that's researchers. They want to make sure it's sure. So I learned this term a few years ago. Does anyone know what this means, VUCA? Volatile, unstable, chaotic, and ambiguous. This was actually coined in the 1980s by Warren Bennis, a very famous leadership consultant, and said, we're living in a VUCA world. Everything happens all the time that we can't control. Catastrophes happen in the world. They happen to ourselves as individuals. And I was thinking about this when the pandemic started. I said, wow, if that's not an example of a VUCA world. And then I was thinking about it on October 8th as I got on an airplane to fly to Las Vegas to give a keynote. And the thing is, the VUCA world exists no matter what. There is always going to be volatility, instability, chaos, and ambiguity in the world. So what can we do to center ourselves, to still have a vision, and to ensure that we can continue our dreams even as chaos erupts all around us? And it really struck me that vision is so much more important when you're going through challenging times. I've done some research on this because I meant to write a book called Embracing the Accidental Life. Do you love the title? I'm not writing that book, but I love the title. And I now own all the URLs, and all these insurance companies are trying to buy it from me. But the idea of the accidental life is you never know what's going to happen, but you still have to get on the path. So I hired a researcher, props to the researchers. What happens when someone has a vision of what their life is going to be like, what their future is going to be like, and something takes them off that path? And the answer is those who have a vision are more likely to achieve it following a catastrophe or something terrible that happens either in their world, in their community, or themselves. And those who don't have a vision laid out for themselves, who don't go on that journey of visualization, are going to end up wallowing. And bad things are going to happen because they don't have a path to get back on. So I am certain that each of you has a dream for yourself, for the world, but unexpected things are going to happen. And so I'm hoping that by the time I'm finished with you here, you'll have some tools and takeaways that will help you articulate that vision and follow through on it no matter what happens. So I want to tell you the story of Jessica Goldman Srebnick, who was a Woman to Watch 2019, if anyone was here. Give her a round of applause from Miami. A dear friend who is the visionary behind the Wynwood Walls in Miami and other incredible places in the world. And I can't imagine that she expected that when she sent her son, James, over to spend a gap year, that he would decide to become and enlist as an IDF soldier and now is in Special Forces. I can't imagine that was the vision that she had for him. But what Jessica has taught me is that even when difficult things happen to those that you love or difficult circumstances occur, it's having a vision for their success, it's rallying a community, it's holding that vision and path for his safety clear in your heart that has helped her through this difficult time. And then, is anyone familiar with Talia Dror, Cornellian? And an SDT sister, go ahead, do it, who testified before Congress. I can't imagine that SDT student at Cornell imagined that she would have to go through what she went through on campus and that she would be testifying before Congress. We invited her to come here today, but she's busy following her path and fulfilling her vision to do well in school and take her finals. So for all of you at any age and any stage, your vision might change for real life, but it's having one at all that can make a difference. And I never imagined back in 2011 when I got on an airplane on the first night of Passover, flying into the Arab Spring and taking a tour of Lebanon, Oman, and Saudi Arabia, that I would learn that peace happens one person at a time. And that is my vision for the world through these VUCA times. And I'll tell you more about that in a moment. So for each of you, I hope that you can consider, what is my leadership vision? How do I develop it? So there's a great definition of leadership vision, and I want to share it. This is Stuart Friedman. He wrote a great book called Total Leadership. Leadership vision is all about who you are, what matters most to you, and what you want to accomplish and the kind of leader you wish to be. It represents who you are and what you stand for. So again, even if you're taken off your path, it's the North Star of who you are that will help you to fulfill your leadership and to fulfill your vision. But there was some interesting research, and I'm going to just be honest, it really made me angry, AKA pissed me off, okay? There was an article in HBR, and it was many years ago, and it was called Women in the Vision Thing. And it was all about how women actually exceed men in all core leadership competencies except for one, envisioning. I'm like, wait, what? Like, I dream all the time. I've been dreaming since the second grade. I know women who dream and women who have vision. What is going on that women are scoring lower on the thing we know how to do just innately? Well, the research has shown that women don't advocate for themselves. They don't speak up. They don't find accountability partners for their vision. And if I heard the words imposter syndrome one more time today, can we crush that? A syndrome, if you think about it, is something that stops you from doing things. Every single imposter woman who calls herself that she has imposter syndrome that I know is doing incredible things in the world. So I would like right now, can we all say ban imposter syndrome? Thank you. And I wanted to unpack this and give you some skills to ensure that your vision can be realized and that no longer will we be scored lower on what I think is the most important leadership skill, envisioning. So let me tell you a bit about my vision story and how I became a dreamer. So this is me as a little girl. I found this picture during the pandemic. Look at me. Every picture of me as a child is either me being absolutely delightful or eating something. I just wanted to say that. So that is me as a little girl. And in the second grade, and I was thinking about this today because my little grandniece was starring in her first show today. She's 6 years old, but I was 7, and I appeared in the bird on Nellie's hat. And I wasn't even Nellie, I was her best friend. And I knew right then and there that I wanted to be an actor on Broadway. I wanted to star in Annie as the evil Miss Hannigan. I didn't want to be one of the orphans, right? But I came from a very traditional family. My father was a gynecologist, and my mother was a Freudian psychoanalyst. This was very confusing growing up. For them, being an actor was not the dream they had for me. And so I decided to take a more traditional path, and this was back when LA Law, which is now back on Hulu, by the way, you all should be watching it again. LA Law was all the rage, that was the legal show, and I wanted to be Susan Day, if anyone knows who she is, with Harry Hamlin. Instead, I'm Pam Sherman, and I married Neil Sherman, and if anyone knows him, he's no Harry Hamlin, but he's my Neil Sherman. Anyway, I took that traditional path. I practiced law here in Washington, D.C., and then a funny thing happened on the way to my secure profession. Again, vision not realized. My law firm went out of business. It was a very long time ago, and I was profiled in People magazine for ditching my day job to pursue my dreams. Now you know journalistic integrity. It really wasn't that. The day job ditched me. And I got a call after that article came out, and I thought it was somebody from the Department of Justice. They were probably going to be indicting one of my former clients, which wasn't unusual. But no, it was the head of training at the Antitrust Division. And she said, "Can you help make my lawyers more interesting?" And I said, "Thank you." Who laughed? Exactly. I said, absolutely not. And worse, they were antitrust lawyers. Is anyone an antitrust lawyer in the room? Okay, perfect. They're literally the most boring lawyers ever. And I said, I can't make them interesting. And then I thought about it. And I was working with the head of theater at American University, writing a play at the time about a comedy about the death of my best friend. I kid you not. And she said, well, why not? Why can't you help them to play a better version of themselves? Why can't you teach them that the messenger matters as much as the message? And that changed the course of my life. I have gone on to work with leaders all around the world, from Milwaukee to Morocco, from Cincinnati to Sydney. And my through line has always been the one I had as a little girl, that I want to help people stand on their stages, whether it's a Zoom stage or a stage in front of a crowd, or if it's a one-on-one with someone that means something to them, and play the best role that they can play themselves. So my vision may not be exactly as I imagined. No, I'm not on Broadway. But I have found a way to take what I do well and reimagine my vision for real life. So I do want to share that I am 61 years old, and I am the 35 plus. I actually got to realize my dream again. I hadn't been on stage as an actor for 13 years. I went back on stage as a woman you all should know about. Her name is Irma Bombeck. She was a dreamer who wrote a column from an ironing board in her house in Dayton, Ohio. She went on to be on Good Morning America. She was the most prolific columnist of her time. 900 newspapers she was in, and I got to play her in a one-woman show. Yes, we sold tens of tickets in Cleveland and Denver and Rochester and Buffalo and who knows where else. So your dreams don't have to stop. They can come full circle, and you can live what I call a portfolio life and bring it back into your life in many other ways. So let's explore some vision connections, give you some takeaways that you can take away. Do some dreaming, grow out of your comfort zone and grow with each other, and then ignite and send you off to cocktails, because apparently I'm the person standing between you and the drink you've earned. Okay. So Vision Connect, not you, Vivian, not you. Exploring vision connections. So this is really interesting. Sally Helgesen, she's fantastic. You should follow her on LinkedIn. She wrote a great book called The Female Vision, so I don't have to. And she talks about the things you need to activate to make your female vision come to the fore and make it a strength. You have to articulate it out loud. You have to enlist allies. You now have a room of 300 allies for your vision. You have to hold yourself accountable, and you have to be fully present, to echo what Erica asked us to do at the beginning of the day. So in thinking about all those things, I want to start with the most important thing, what I was talking about around imposter syndrome. This is the book I am actually writing. For 8 years, I've been talking about finishing a book proposal. Those who know me are tired of hearing about it, but I finally finished it. Sometimes your vision takes a long time. So the most important thing when you want to have a vision be realized is building your confidence. And it's not about playing someone else and acting like someone else. Often I'm coaching people and they're like, oh, I can't be that VP because I'm not going to do it like him or her. And I come into the coaching room, and we heard a story today about a terrible coach who tried to, yes, thank you very much. One of our honorees was sharing the story of the coach who didn't want her to be herself. And I'm often asked, can you smooth out their edges? And I tell the person I'm coaching, my job is to shine your edges so they can all bask in the glow of your glory self, and you can be who you are in the room. Thank you. So the goal to play yourself is you actually have to do the work and know yourself. So the first thing to do this, and the first exercise I want you to consider, is who are you and what are your power words? So power words that I think about, and we actually talked about this in one of the sessions earlier today, are who are you at the core? If you had to think of, and if you can write this down or put it on your phone, what's the one word that defines you at the core? And it can't be like late, tired, hungry, hot. I'm really hot right now, I'm gonna tell you. It's fabulous, but it's really hot. And not hot like in the, in the good sense of the word. But what is the one word that you would use to define yourself? Does anybody wanna just throw it out there so I could hear it? Yes. genuine. Yes, you are. I met her in the bathroom. She's so genuine. Yes. Yes, my friend Laura is joyful. Yes, Michelle Carlson, our chair. Can we give her a round of applause? She is loyal. And my core defining word is energy. This is how you want to show up, how you want people to perceive you, and how you want to show up in the world. And when my energy isn't being fed, if I'm not taking care of myself, I'm not showing up in the best possible version of myself. The other words that I think are critically important are what's important to you, your values. I work with a lot of companies that use strength finders. Is anyone familiar with strength finders? I'm like, well, that's great. That's what you're good at. I'm a woo, in case you wanted to know. But what instead is important to you? So are you a risk taker? Is family important to you? And how does that show up so that you could start building the foundation of confidence so that people know who you are based upon your core defining word and your core values? So just to share my 3 core values that I live by, and my daughter's in the front row, so yeah, Eliza Sherman. It was family, but then they started pissing me off. So I decided to make, not you, decided to make it connectedness, because that was bigger to me and it allowed me to create a bigger tent. The other thing that's important to me is humor. I hope that you can see that in how I'm showing up. I think I'm delightful. I laugh at myself all the time. maybe my family not so much. And then the third one that's important to me is excellence. Not perfection, but excellence, something to strive for. To me, excellence is about integrity, holding myself accountable, and following through on things. So what are your core values? What's important to you? When you know those power words, no imposter can seep through, because you know who you are and you've got the foundation to build your confidence, because with that confidence, you can then go out and share your vision. That's the other thing. Your vision has to show up in your body, in your voice. Too often I'm asked, can you do a speech about finding your voice? What do you think my answer is? You all have them. The difference is you don't need to look for it. You just need to use it. I want to give a prop and a shout out to Marina for sharing the story of not using her voice and what that meant to her, and how now by using her voice, which I know you're losing, but it's okay. By using your voice, you're finding a way to pave a path and a vision that you have for you and your family's future. So use your body. Have your vision show up in every aspect of you. And friends of mine know that I do the Amy Cuddy power pose. I know the researchers would tell me that it's been debunked. But can you all stand up with me? Because this makes me so happy when I see a room do this. And someone take a picture. You want to build your confidence. You all want to stand up, put your arms up, and imagine you're singing at Carnegie Hall and a spotlight is coming down at you. And close your eyes and imagine the applause. Now, maybe your Carnegie Hall is finishing a race, or maybe your Carnegie Hall is just getting through the grocery store with what you had on your list. It doesn't matter. Think of a time you felt powerful and hold that pose. We're not going to do it for 2 minutes. Do you all feel better now? Shake your hands and sit down. And the final thing is to be connected. So the exercise I want you to do right now is write down the name of one person you haven't met today that you want to meet, or write down the name of the person that you met today that you want to keep. Sam Saperstein, who I was proud to nominate as a woman to watch, I met her at the New York Times New Rules Summit in 2019 in the before times. We happened to have lunch, and I immediately fell in love with her, and I said, I'm keeping you. I don't care what you say. And so I feel, find that person. It is through those connections to realize a vision. You need to make a larger and larger community. Today at JWI, we have formed a new community. So think about the person that you haven't met at the cocktail party. Go over to them, share your core defining word, and see how that changes your vision journey. Now, dreaming big. So we've talked as a board all the time about what is our vision for the world, and we have a really big one. It's to end domestic and sexual violence. It's to ensure financial literacy, and it's to ensure that all women and girls can lead safe and healthy lives through their leadership. That's big. Can we do that? Yes, thank you. So what is your big dream? I'm a big believer in write something out that is so huge, and I don't care if it takes you 20 years to get there. that is the path that you want to take. But you have to get good at something called visualization. It really would be hard to talk about dreaming without talking about visualization. Do I have any meditators in the room? Yeah, I'm really bad at it, but I try and do it every day. It is only through being quiet with yourself and getting good at the mind-body part of visualization that you can actually realize those big dreams. So remember, vision isn't just about having a vision. It's about sitting in quiet, thoughtfulness, in order to see what that looks like. What does that feel like? Actors use it all the time. We're imagining ourselves in these crazy imaginary circumstances, so we have to use visualization in order to make you believe us. Otherwise, you actually, I don't know, does everybody think that Tom Cruise is tall? Right? He's amazing at that. Okay. So this is one of my favorite quotes, and I said it, "A dream is a story that just hasn't happened yet, so you get to write it." So I want you to think about what's the story that you want to write at the end of 2024. And I want you all to commit that you're going to, and I do this with my clients all the time, they have to look at the end of a project or the end of a year and think about, okay, I'm looking back. What have I accomplished? How do I feel about it? And what did I do to get there? So I learned once, if you state a goal out loud, you're less likely to achieve it, which makes me crazy because I'm always like, hi, I'm so excited, I'm gonna lose 10 pounds. And Rachel shakes her head and she smiles. And apparently a hormone gets released where I don't have to bother. But if I say, Rachel, I'm gonna get up every morning and I'm gonna go for a run, and then I'm gonna eat an egg white omelet, and then I'm gonna have 10 almonds at 10 o'clock and a salad for lunch. Sounds awful, doesn't it? Instead, I've created a specific dream. So it's with specificity that our vision is more likely to happen. So you actually have to write it out with specificity and have an action plan. And then the final thing is you have to know how you're going to feel about it when you're done, which I kind of love. It's I'm proud, or I feel like I've accomplished something, or it just could be I feel better about my health, right? So change the way you think about future goals into a backward-looking story of success. And to that end, stories from the past illuminate your path to the future. So I want you to write down a story that you heard today or a quote that you heard, because then that will help you to cement your vision. What was the story that you heard from a panel? What was the takeaway that you can take away that you can share with someone else and share the story of how Moisha House is growing around the world, or how, thank you, yes, or how Her Campus Media got started, or about Curious Cardinals and how it began as a dream sitting in the middle of the pandemic being sent home from Stanford University. So I want you to consider, what are the stories that you learned today that will illuminate your path to the future? All right, I'm watching time. I've got it, Meredith. The grow part. It's my children tell me that I think about everything and explore, dream, grow, and excite. Because edge, my husband tells me that I'm edgy, like it's a bad thing because I'm from Staten Island, New York. That's props to Staten Island. But the grow part for the G is critically important. So if we want to grow, there was a great quote that I used to talk about all the time: do one thing scary every day. But I have a new one that I learned today from one of our Women to Watch, which is do one thing you don't care about every day. So thank you, Jill. It was amazing. It's like, do something you don't care about, because if it's not that important, you will at least have accomplished it, and it counts, right? I love that. But also, think about how you want to be. So every year, I come up with a word of the year. In 2022, my word was complete, because I was trying to complete my book proposal. And I realized that even if I didn't complete it, I was still complete. So the word worked. In 2023, my word was create. And I felt like I finally finished the book proposal, and I played Irma again in Cleveland. So create was important to me. And in 2024, my word is going to be, because I think it's important to just be. The way our vision journey can be realized is when we are fully present. That's what the research shows. When we take time to be thoughtful. If you are not a journaler with a pen, I hope that you'll leave here with that thought in your head. It is not enough to write it in your notes on your phone. When we write something down, it imprints on our soul. So I hope that's one of the tools you'll take. And then finally, when we sit and we are grateful, we are more likely to make a difference when we extend our gratitude out to someone. Now, it also raises our serotonin levels. So I actually think if being altruistic and having gratitude didn't feel good to you, no one would bother doing it. But take the time, send the thank you note, find somebody in this room that you want to thank, go up and thank them at the cocktail party. They will feel good, you will feel good, and it will help you on your vision journey. And then finally, be curious. Be is great. Like it's going to be, I think I might make this my word every year, right? I love this quote from Eartha Kitt. I'm learning all the time. The tombstone will be my diploma. For the 35 plus, 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 plus in the room, you can have a vision that will change for your real life, but you have to keep having a vision. I speak to multi-generational groups from high schoolers to 90-year-olds. It doesn't matter to me. Vision is a skill set that never stops until we're not here anymore. So be curious. And then finally, I've come up with this new word. I'd like to trademark it. You know the quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, do one thing scary every day? I'm scared all the time. I was scared just sitting down here coming up to you. I was scared to close out a conference that you've all been at since noon today, and for some of us even earlier. And I realized that there's this concept of being fierce. It's important to be fierce as a woman, F-I-E-R-C-E. But here's the thing, and a great acting teacher once said this to me. There's scared and you do, and scared and you don't. You're going to be scared anyway, so go ahead and do. And I realized that fear is always going to be there. It may be that underlying negative voice in your head. It could be the thing that stops you from asking for that promotion or that next role that you want. Or it could be the thing that says, I can't learn how to paint at 70, but I'm going to. But I wonder, what if we change this concept and we said, let's be fierce, embrace our fear, and do it anyway. So that's the grow part. And then finally, vision and action. So I would love for each of you to think of one takeaway from either this session or any of the other sessions that changed you today. The thing you're going to do when you walk out of the room because you spent this day at JWI. And I'd love for you to write it down, take a moment, write it down, and to turn to a partner and just think, is there one thing you will do differently as a result of what you did today? Can you take 2 minutes to do that? Go ahead. Just turn to a partner. One thing you're going to do differently. Okay. Do we have a microphone in the back, Vera? Do we have a microphone in the back? Is there anyone who's willing to share their one takeaway briefly? Can you raise your hand? Molly Bowman Macklin. She can do it without a microphone, but we're going to bring it to you. One thing she's going to do differently. And I have a prize for, whoever is willing to share out loud. Go ahead.
Well, I'm nothing if not long-winded, so.
Okay, well, we want to have time for other people.
Okay,
so go for it.
my goal for 2024, how I'm leading with this, is I want to be well-rested. Like, I can't come up with anything else I want to do besides sleep. So the one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a sabbatical in some capacity, and I'm committing to that.
Yes. Okay, we can't wait to hear about it at the end. Thank you very much. Anybody else want to share their one thing? Yes, Sasha Block. This is great.
So often when I come to the conferences, I make a list of people that I want to follow up with, and then I never actually do, just because life gets busy. And I'm committing to, I made a list, Pam, while you were speaking, and I am going to send those emails or LinkedIn messages or something before December 31st, even if the connection itself happens in January.
Thank you. And one more. Okay, yes.
But we're not proactively doing anything. And
Thank
so
you.
You're our queen now.
Thank you. So for each of you, I'm going to be sharing a bracelet made in Cape Town, South Africa that makes a difference for charities all over the world, including my friend who had a vision, fellow board member Laura Rebel Gross, who came to me and said, I once taught at an all-girl high school, and I have a dream of building an all-girl charter school here in Rochester, New York. That school has celebrated its 10th anniversary. We also have Sarah Bolden here from the Student Leadership Network, and thank you, Sarah, for participating in panels. And they are making differences for girls who wouldn't otherwise graduate from high school. Now they're graduating from college and from law school. And those girls started 7th grade with a vision. You can start today with a vision and take action on it for the rest of your life, because it is only by that vision, having a vision, that we can change the world one person at a time. In 2011, I sat in a room with a man in Jeddah who was my host, and I watched him pray during his prayer hour, and I realized that I know today feels challenging, but there is always hope. We can always meet people in silence through peace, and that is my vision for the world, that people will be able to live like that. I know that we can make it happen one person at a time, and that's my hope and vision for all of you. Thank you very much for this opportunity.